Oh, hello there. So this will be Will's Weekly Football Roundup. This will be episode 17. I had originally scripted out looking at all the different potential all the potential managers to replace Gareth Southgate, and started sort of putting everything together. However, obviously with the recent news, as obviously everyone can tell, Thomas Tuchel been appointed. I've decided instead now to have to scrap that, and I'm going to go into a little bit about Thomas Tuchel, or as I'm now affectionately calling him, Tommy T. So he himself sort of retired from football sort of very early on, to the age of 25, because of a severe injury. He was sort of brought through into VfB Stuttgart by Ralf Rangnick, who I'm sure Man United fans will love and remember. And then he sort of did a very good job through the coaching networks, or the sort of the coaching of the youth players there, having guided the under-19s to their version of the Bundesliga title. And then he was unfortunately he was told to leave because of his abrasive coaching style and demeanour. Now, this might be a recurring theme as I go through why he's left other jobs. So from that, he's obviously left. He then took charge of Augsburg 2, obviously in the second division, of which he actually coached the current German manager Julian Nagelsmann, who had a very sort of had a similar start. Obviously, a sort of very young individual who didn't have a playing career because of injuries, and sort of unfortunately, so sort of very young, sort of up and coming tactical manager, obviously, from which he managed to finish fourth. He did a really good job there. So then a lot of teams within the Bundesliga were looking around him, and he decided to join Mainz, and then he started along this trend of sort of following Jurgen Klopp, or many people starting to compare him to Jurgen Klopp because of the pressing system sort of put in play. Obviously, they tactically are a bit sort of different in many respects. I think the pressing system from a Jurgen Klopp team is considerably more intense, and I'm of the belief that Thomas Tuchel is someone that will adapt to change in a better manner throughout a game. So obviously took this Mainz job. He managed to finish fifth in his first season, sort of ahead of sort of many other more established Bundesliga teams. However, in the second season, he unfortunately lost several of their key players that sort of made them do so well throughout that, including Andreas Schürrle, who went off to Bayer Leverkusen. This meant that unfortunately they slid down the league because the strength of the squad wasn't there, slipping down to 13th. He was then sort of asked to sort of leave for the 13-14 season. By the time at Mainz, he actually had the same length of time as Jurgen Klopp, and managed to secure more points and could arguably considered more successful at Mainz. Because Klopp obviously came through there after his playing career, which was obviously the height of his playing career was at Mainz, for which he then decided to follow that pattern, and he joined Borussia Dortmund in 2015, incorporating, as I've obviously mentioned, a very sort of similar pressing-based style of football, sort of being able to change his team tactically based on the players he had available to him, for sort of going through from systems like the 4-1-4-1 to like 4-2-3-1, in particular utilising the technical abilities of some of the creative attacking midfielders at the time in Borussia Dortmund, which I believe would have been primarily Shinji Kagawa, as well as sort of bringing through sort of exciting youngsters at the time, like Christian Pulisic, obviously gone on to sort of do well for Chelsea and now AC Milan. He did manage to get his first trophy, or his first senior level trophy, as it were, winning the DFB Pokal for them in 2016-17. Unfortunately, he was dismissed in 2017. There was very much believed that there was a strained relationship within the board, with a win percentage of 62.96. So it was a higher win percentage than Klopp himself. So highlighting sort of arguably with a slightly weaker team, as although he did have some of the starting players that Klopp did, he also tried to bring in sort of new players and sort of make the team his own, signing people like Rafael Guerrero, who had just recently won the Euros at that time, sort of transitioning him from a left back into a central midfielder. So unfortunately, things didn't go very well there. So in a little timeout, 2018, he had to join the arguably biggest poison chalice out of all of them, joined PSG, who ended up signing at the start of the season, signing Kylian Mbappe, getting Gianluigi Buffon on a free. However, he was very angry with the board, sort of citing that they did not actually sign what you actually asked for, and because he required a fullback from what he was told. Obviously, can make do with the many riches you have at PSG, to which he managed to get multiple honours throughout his time there, which is the bare minimum and expected for a team with that financial might and that financial clout in that league compared to everyone else. So winning the Trope de Champion, the Coupe de France, and the league on multiple occasions. However, he had issues with the hierarchy, of which he ended up falling out with them within sort of next season. As I mentioned, his desire to sign a fullback, he wasn't allowed to do so. The next season, he wanted to sign a centre back, wasn't allowed to do so, and almost in protest, he used one of the board signings, Danilo Pereira, who was supposed to be a central defensive midfielder, as the centre back in some sort of protest to sort of say, look, this is what I wanted. I'm having to do what I can with what's there. So obviously he was not sort of very happy. So he ended up leaving there because of his issues with the board. With one of the highest win percentages ever in Ligue 1, it's a 75.6%, which is absolutely ridiculous if you think about winning percentages for managers arguably great managers. You're talking the Pep Guardiolas, Alex Ferguson's. They don't really come close to this. Not even like Pep now manages that. Because if they started 2 seasons ago, maybe. But so he had a bit of time out from there. Ended up joining Chelsea after Frank Lampard sort of got dismissed. Joining partway through the season, and having utilised the players that Frank Lampard had at his disposal, actually successfully managing to win the Champions League, having managed to beat Real Madrid in the semi-finals, and having bested Pep Guardiola in the Champions League final, with Kai Havertz obviously scoring the winner there. Now, many people believed he would kick on from that into the next season, where he had sort of hit the full summer to implement his tactics, his strategies, and to sign his own players. There was signing people like Romelu Lukaku, and sort of actually having the full integration of people like Hakim Ziyech. However, he didn't really kick on from that. I think many people considered him like a potential manager that could push the Jurgen Klopp, the Pep Guardiola, to turn it from a 2-horse race to a 3-horse race, as it were. Obviously, failed to do that, unfortunately. He did very well within those cup competitions, reaching the Carabao Cup final, reaching the FA Cup final, unfortunately coming up against Liverpool, and unfortunately losing on both times penalties. I can't blame a manager for losing on penalties. That's a little bit harsh. You can prepare as much as you want, but in a penalty shootout situation, it's a little bit luck. It really is. I mean, you can argue there's the mental side of it and the technical side of it, but I think there's a strong element of luck within most penalty shootouts, particularly between two quality teams. So unfortunately, from that, he sort of continued on in through to the next season, where there were changes that took place at Chelsea with the war in Ukraine and Roman Abramovich's assets being seized. He then had to sell Chelsea, which he did to the Blueco Group, of which he was then. He didn't leave straight away. However, the club ended up spending the most amount in a summer transfer window, bringing people like Raheem Sterling and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, as well as sort of some youngsters, including Chukwuemeka and Casaday, and unfortunately not just being loaded all these players. He was very disgruntled. He was getting very agitated with the board because this transfer activity, which he himself had no influence in, or very little influence in, he didn't enjoy the day-to-day activity of, oh, we've got another player, here's another thing I have to do, here's another one I've got to do. To which he also then had many fallings out with several players within that group, including people like Ziyech, including people like Romelu Lukaku, although his decision to do a very distasteful interview, having recently signed for Chelsea from Inter Milan, I think he dug his own grave there, so I wouldn't hold that possibly against Thomas Tuchel on that front at least. But having the falling out of multiple Chelsea players, he then obviously, as well as sort of his abrasive demeanour, as it were, with the Chelsea board, he ended up leaving. Which is then we got up to his most recent job, which will have been the Bayern Munich job. He joined in 2023. He managed to win the Bundesliga within his first season, of course, and then he managed to make several key signings, including several English signings throughout the next season, including the big money signing of Harry Kane. However, they didn't do very well that season. They came up against Xabi Alonso, inspired by Leverkusen, who romped through the winning the Bundesliga, who didn't win a single game. So, I mean, you're going to struggle with a team which is going to it's almost sort of just freakish in many respects that a team goes and does that. They unfortunately they lost the Super Cup, which would have been an opportunity for Harry Kane to win a trophy. Yes, he still didn't win a trophy at the Bayern Munich. I feel very bad for. Left the DFB Pokal very early round to a team sort of several divisions lower. Early exits from the DFB Pokal. He then sort of had an agreement with the higher ups at Bayern Munich to leave because of, how would they phrase it, a sporting realignment. Now, those that sort of look into the Bundesliga or look into Bayern Munich, one thing you've got to be aware of, and I think people can see it with Man United, is that several of the older players have higher positions within the boardroom. People like Oliver Kahn, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, as well as having sort of strong leaders on the pitch, stalwarts, a strong spine in that respect, of people like Thomas Müller, of Manuel Neuer, people that you don't really want to sort of tick off if the leaders in the dressing room, and sort of, as well as obviously those higher ups believing Bayern Munich should be winning everything, including especially the Champions League, especially with this talent, especially with this money spent on it. Not necessarily sort of being slightly archaic in some of their views on how things should be done and go about doing things, and it's not necessarily the easiest job. And I do wish Vincent Kompany all the luck in the world on that. Obviously, I think he's had a mixed start to things with Obviously losing to Villa, but doing very well within the league. That's another thing to sort of to discuss. So one of the main things you can notice throughout a lot of his time there is that when he's left these other clubs, it's usually been down to how he acts with the board, how he acts with some of the players. Sort of an aggressive, sort of can be disagreeable as a manager. He's very much sort of like wanting to put his ideas across. I think he himself, though, is still tactically flexible to an extent because he's shown great ability in match to adapt throughout the game. Any manager that can get the better of Jurgen Klopp's or Pep Guardiola's in European finals is not to be sniffed at. He is a winner. He's someone that demands quality, hence the fact that he didn't believe he got that at several of these teams. He demands it, he expects it, and he's going to be doing the same thing with the England job. Obviously, international management in itself is different to club management. So you would like to think that the issues like for Chelsea, for Bayern Munich, there's no transfers involved there, so you're not looking at that as any potential issue. You could potentially see him maybe falling out with one or two of the players, maybe, because of how he might want to set up, how he might want to play them, and they might want to play in a particular different way. However, I do believe he himself is a very well sort of tactical manager. He's an adaptive manager, and he's a winning manager at the end of the day. And I could look through the list of other managers potentially available that could have got Eddie Howe, Graham Potter, Lee Carsley, Pep Guardiola, not a realistic one. These are young, exciting English managers. Eddie Howe, arguably with the most credibility, doing well at Newcastle. You're not leaving Newcastle job for the England job, regardless of what people on Sky Sports or Talk Sports say. England manager's job is not as big as people want because that in itself is one of the most scrutinised job positions in the world of football. Up there with the Man United job, up there with the Real Madrid job. You need to win. You need to do this. Yeah. So it goes without saying that he will be put under pressure, and considering how well Gareth Southgate has done in tournaments, regardless of style of play, he'll be expected to at least match that. But I've probably rattled on long enough. What do you guys think of him? Do you believe he's the best appointment the FA could have made? I personally do. Let us know in the comments below. Thank you very much. I will see you all later.